Current Arizona State co-regional defensive coordinator and former Cincinnati Bengals head coach Marvin Lewis is always brought up in terms of the prime meridian of head coaches. Good, not great, but he has an above 500 record with the friggin' Bengals, and yes, has never won a playoff game, is 0-7, but people forget how hard it was to do that. I mean, the Bengals before Marvin got there were an absolute poop show, even a bigger poop show than they are now. The Bengals are one of the most notorious franchises in the National Football League, which means less money for head coaches, less money for quality assistants, less money for scouts, which is big, absolutely monstrous. And they're one of the few teams without an official GM. It's crazy. And also, their practice field is underneath the friggin' highway. It's under a bridge, literally. And also, yeah, he had Carson Palmer there before he tore up his knee, but also his quarterback was Andy friggin' Dalton. And also, you're in the division with the Steelers and the Ravens, who have been perennially studs. Marvin Lewis, one of the big reasons why the Ravens were studs in the first place, by the way. And then also now the Browns are good. So it's hard. It's extremely difficult. So what Marvin Lewis did in Cincinnati from 2003 to 2018, it's a miracle. Like Zach Taylor dreams, like in his wildest wet dream of having the success that Marvin Lewis had. I mean, that's how insane it is. That's how people just get spoiled by success, but nah. But since 2019, he's been an assistant with Herm Edwards at Arizona State. This year, he was co-regional defensive coordinator with Antonio Pierce, the former Giants linebacker. So the question is, why do we bring this up? Why do we bring up Marvin Lewis on this Vikings channel? Well, so the NFL head coaching rumor mill has been spinning, and Marvin Lewis has reportedly come up as a candidate for multiple teams. Now, do I believe that? Not really. Is this more of a favor for Marvin Lewis and his agent? Sure. But does he want back into the NFL? Yeah, I think absolutely so. So would he still be a great defensive coordinator? Absolutely. Absolutely he is. So again, where am I going with this? Marvin Lewis to the Vikings as play-calling defensive coordinator. Boom, boom, nailed it, said it. So Zimmer and Marvin go way back like chiroprac. Mike Zimmer was obviously Marvin's DC from 2008 to 2013. They had a top 10 defense together 4 out of those 6 years and went to the playoffs 4 of the 6 seasons together. So it's great. Also, since Zimmer's been head coach of the Vikings, they've had joint practices when Marvin was still in Cincinnati. So relationship, obviously still great, right? And Marvin is no neophyte in being a defensive coordinator. So he was DC of the 2000 Ravens, arguably one of the greatest defenses of all time. Minimum top 3, but yeah. And I think that there's only 2 people walking the face of this planet that Mike Zimmer would actually give up defensive play calling for. One, Adam Zimmer, which I think people might actually riot. I understand nepotism. That's taken a little bit too far, even though Adam Zimmer has some achievements on his own right. But no. And number 2 would be Marvin Lewis. Like his guy. And I was never on board with this year's co-regional defensive coordinator arrangement. I mean, Zimmer was still defense coordinator and everything but name. And it took away from Patterson's D-line work. It took away from Zimmer the Younger's linebacker work. And I wasn't in. I wasn't in. But I think Zimmer would put aside the ego for Marvin. If Marvin wants to get back into the game as a play-calling defensive coordinator, I think Mike Zimmer would facilitate that. And he does need help. And bringing in a coach of the caliber of Marvin Lewis on the defensive side of the ball could possibly be the move. Also, I mean, frankly, could give Zimmer a couple of tips as well in terms of game management, in terms of being a head coach, sure, but nah. And also, you look at the staff. I mean, Zimmer loves collecting former head coaches. You look at Kubiak. You look at Dom Capers. You look at Norvell. You look at Shermer, you look at the late, great Tony Sperano, and this one makes too much sense. And even though Marvin Lewis's specialty is linebackers, I don't think there would necessarily be a conflict with Adam Zimmer, who's, known this kid since he was a freaking teenager, right? Also, he was on his staff in 2013 as an assistant defensive backs coach. So I don't think there would be friction there. I don't think there would be stepping on toes. And this Vikings defense has a lot of good young parts, and I think it would be a very appealing situation for Marvin Lewis, especially since the bar is set pretty damn low. So as this Vikings rebounds, as this young team gets more experience next year, as key players like Kendricks and Barr and Danielle Hunter return from injury, and Michael Pierce actually shows up, he'll get credit for that. So it was like, whoop. So if he wants to get back into the game as an NFL head coach, walking into this Vikings situation where low bar, then all of a sudden you're up here. It's like, oh, why the hell not? But Marvin Lewis was a bad head coach. Well, it's a good thing the Vikings wouldn't be hiring him to be a head coach then, eh? Weird. And this would not be a too many cooks in the kitchen situation. There would be one cook, executive chef Marvin Lewis. So owner, proprietor, Mike Zimmer, sure. But your thoughts. Marvin Lewis, Vikings DC, woo! Let's go. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work, post on the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.